Hey, I'm back again. This is the second time now. This is the third time I've made an attempt at making this. Um, I keep forgetting. I keep leaving out stuff. It's I finish recording and then I'm like, shit, man, I forgot to mention that. Anyway, we just had the referendum. Everything's gone bonkers. Boris, Gove, Farage. I don't know what the hell's going on. They didn't expect to win. I've been watching um, the results. I've been watching. Well, I was mainly watching BBC News. I was listening to the radio. Everyone's phoning in. Everyone's going crazy. Everyone's like, we can't. I can't believe we've left the EU. Boris, um, what's his name? Gove, Farage, they were just hype men. They didn't actually have a plan put in place on how to run the country. Well, I say we, but if the Leave campaign actually won, um, Cameron, he's thrown the keys in. He's resigned. He said, "Fuck it, I'm gone." George Osborne, he's missing in action. You've got the young blaming the old. You've got the poor blaming the middle class, which kind of they have a lot to do with it, because being in Europe, no one, like the everyday guy, he doesn't see the benefits in being in Europe. I mean, the only thing you can say, okay, what's the deal? What did we get being in Europe? Okay, we've got some rights that we didn't have before, but UK is has always been at the forefront of human rights. Um, what else? Human rights and some, what was it? Maternity leave and freedom of passage, and through going back and forth to Europe. Now, on that, you've got the young going ape shit. They're like, "Oh, we can't go to Europe. I went to study in Europe. They've ruined it for us." What's stopping you from going to Europe? Okay, you may need a visa. You may have to, if you're gonna study, you may need a bit more money to study. Oh shit, and money. The stock market that plunged. The sterling plunged back to the 1980s level, but it's gone back up now. So I think the last time I checked, it was back to January or February level. So it's picking up. Plus the God, what's that guy's name? Um uh that guy from the Bank of England. He said that he's got some billions put aside to pump in the economy. So so like I was saying, why did the Leave Party win? Basically, it's because people went out and vote. They registered. Cameron gave 2 extra days to register, and people who really wanted to leave, who wasn't seeing the benefit in being in the EU, got up off their asses and they went and they voted. You had different demographics. You had the young, you had middle-aged, you had the elderly, who all voted to leave. Now, a vast majority of that demographic were, they were up in age. And they, I guess, they're coming from that time period of, we fought in the war and all that stuff, and we can go it alone, you know. So they're in a different mindset. Whereas, you know, you've got the young, and they've got all this positive outlook of um we're not British, or we're not English, we're European, and all that stuff. And you know, it's just a clash of generation. And I can say, when I was in my 20s, I felt like that. You know, I was all gung ho for being in Europe, and I remember speaking to an Irish guy, and I think at the time he must have been in his, I say, late 30s, early 40s, and he was like, "It's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. You know, we shouldn't be in Europe. It's a bad idea." And I'm like, "Why? You know, like, what's the problem? What's wrong being in Europe?" And he's like, "You know, you're losing sovereignty, and everything is being governed from abroad, and blah blah blah." And I'm thinking, well, what's wrong with that? You know, as long as it's bringing something positive to the UK, you know, as long as we're getting some sort of benefit. I was young though. I'm just saying. As long as we're getting some benefit, then what's wrong with us being in Europe? You know, it just didn't click. Now, as I got older, and as I'm starting to, you know, get into my career and working, and watching the economy and watching how things change, my you know, I started to reconsider about this whole being in Europe sort of thing, because I'm not seeing the benefit of us being in Europe apart from what I've said. Now, you have, I guess, you know, you've got that um the subsidies, I guess, you know, the European um loans that they give to different organizations. I don't see why we still can't get that, because we're not going to be putting as much money into Europe. That's another thing. Boris, Farage, and Gove, they need to, if they haven't done it already, explain why did they lie about the 350 million a week that's going to Europe, when it was really, I think it's 100 and I think it was 160 something. Don't quote me. I know it wasn't that amount, but I know it's around 150 to 160, I think, a week. But that money can still go to somewhere else, you know. But they need to come and say, we misled people and we're wrong. I do think, but it's very unlikely to happen, that there should be another referendum. Not because um, uh, the Leave campaign won, is because the Leave campaign based their whole campaign around the lie, and they misled people, and that should be enough for another referendum. Now you've got the remaining campaign. They are throwing a hissy fit. They're like, like I said before, you know, we want to remain in the EU, and you know, um, we didn't get to cast our votes and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, look, you had 2 extra days to register. You waited until the ending, the last minute. Then you had um what was it? I think it's like 2 million, when they saw that, when they saw they were losing. There was someone created a petition, and 2 million, over 2 million people signed that petition. Where the hell were all of you voters during the hours of you casting your votes? Where was this 2 million people? That proves to you that you weren't serious, and that's why the Remain campaign lost. No one took it serious. Cameron said this is a once in a lifetime of, we won't be going back making um, voting and all of that again. So if you need to vote, make sure you register. If you know the times, make sure you get there and you vote. There is no excuses. Get there and vote. But they didn't take it seriously, and now they're complaining. And then you've got the young. They should have lowered it to 16 because we know what's best for us. No, because at 16, your opinions are going to change at 18. When you're 18, your views are going to change at 25. 25 to 35, your views are going to change. You're constantly changing because of different experiences. Okay, and it doesn't make sense. You don't have enough experience in life to make that sort of life-changing choice. You may not like it, but that's just fact. That's just the truth. I think at 18 you have somewhat experience in life because you're able to do a lot of things at 18 that you're not at 16. We've got that Jean-Claude Jackoff, fat old fucker, talking about, come on, get Article 50 going. He doesn't tell us what to fucking do. That's one of the reasons why we left. That's one of the reasons why we don't want to be in the EU, because as a sovereign country, we're not actually physically joined to Europe, so we have a different sort of a outlook on things that we want to preserve. We don't want to be told what to do. We will invoke Article 50 when we decide. But you know what? I think that all of this could be just a plan of, I don't know. But I think it's to let us know what it really means to be out of it. I don't think we're going to leave. To be honest with you, I don't think we're going to actually leave. I think within the 2 years, they're going to accept us back, but we're just going to be their bitch. What Cameron went to Brussels for and what he didn't get, why all of this shit happened, when we enter back into the EU, we're not going to get that. And we may even have less than what we had before. We're going to have a general election. The Labour Party's gone to shit. Everybody wants Corbyn to leave. Loads of people's resigned. He sacked some people. The Lib Dems are saying, well, if we're going to have a general election, their whole campaign is going to be on having a referendum so we can get back into Europe. Scotland, they want to have their what do you call it? Their referendum because the UK voted to leave the EU. So now they have to, I guess, how it works. I can't remember what her name is. Nicola something. She has to get authorization, or she has to get. So I don't want to make it sound a certain way. She doesn't. She has to get, I guess, the go ahead from Westminster for Scotland to have a referendum, another referendum. And I guess if she doesn't get it, I guess she's threatening Westminster with, all that vetoing to keep the UK from leaving, or from England from leaving the EU, because Scotland wants to remain in the EU, and because we voted and they're a part of England, we're taking them out of the EU.